time for the one and the only show. It can only be the Luke Howard Show. So please welcome Luke Howard. Oh, here we are then. Here we are. Another day, another show. Hope everybody is well, and I hope your day is going well, as I say every single day. I hope it is going well, and I hope you're raring to go for today's show, because I am raring to go, because we've got a great show, got great stuff to talk about on the show today. Great telly, great national days, great music, lots more. It's going to be great. If you'd like to get in touch with us today, 07593 847 105 is the number to text or call. I would suggest if you start with the word talk and your name and where you're from, we'll get back to you. You can ring us and we'll get back to you straight away. Or you can find us on Instagram. It's at the Luke Howard fan page. Drop us a message on there and we'll get back to you. Or you can find us on, I would believe, email GaryJHoward68 at hotmail.com, or you can use the other email, which is 345 at student.hrc.ac.uk. That's my email, by the way, but just to let you all know, I check it twice or once a week, so if I don't reply to your email, it's because I only check them twice or once a week. So today is Thursday, the 2nd of July. Blimey, 2 days into July already? Gosh, it's gone quick. Flipping hell. Right, okay, let's start off with talking about a business piece of news. We're going to start off by talking a bit about business, because everyone knows this company, Upper Crust. Now, the owner says that they could lose up to 5,000 UK jobs, and they could all just go. Now, Upper Crust owner SSP Group says that up to 5,000 jobs could be cut across the UK outlets and head office as it struggles with the reduction in passenger travel. Now, the firm has said that global sales in April and May were 95% below the previous years. Now, the SSP has 580 outlets across the UK, mostly at railway stations and airports, but fewer than 10 are currently open. Now, the company experts, what do they know? What do they know? But only 1/5 of its UK stores is to open by this autumn. It joins a growing of a company's slashing jobs as the UK economy has suffered its worst contraction in 41 years. Now, COVID-19 continues to have an unprecedented impact on the travel industry and on SSP's businesses in all geographies, and says that SSP Group Chief Executive, this is Simon Smith. Now, we are beginning to see early signs of recovery in some parts of the world, and we are starting to open units as passenger demands pickups. However, in the UK, the pace on the recovery continues to be slow. He also said that while SSP operates across more than 30 countries, including the US, India and China, of course, that when I think of India and China, it makes me think of tea, because I love my tea. But of course, job cuts are only being made at the UK businesses. Now, at this time of the year, the company would normally employ about 9,000 people across the UK. Staff have been enrolled on the government paid in a furlough scheme throughout the coronavirus crisis. The company has said it had planned to reopen UK outlets as passenger demand returned, adding that the reality is that passenger numbers will still remain at very low levels. Mrs. Smith has said the firm would swiftly reopen UK units if there were improved sales over the summer. In a statement, the company has said that it had across the around 750 million in liquidity, and it was confident that it had significant funds to allow it to operate throughout even its most pessimistic scenario. SSP employs around 39,000 staff worldwide across 2,800 outlets last month. It said that it had suffered extremely low sales after the coronavirus pandemic forced it to shut some branches. As well as Upper Crust, this bakery, its SSP owns a number of brands, including, deli places operated Camden Food Co. and luxury bar chain Cabin, which has outlets in airports and train stations, which I have seen before. Well, I have been to train stations and I have seen that company be there before. I thought Upper Crust, it was making Cornish pasties and stuff, but I think it's more of a cafe sort of thing. So, okay, well, let's move on to news that's been coming in the last couple of minutes now, because coronavirus data is needed quicker to target local outbreaks, says a doctor. Now, the government must provide virtual data more quickly to local authorities to help them deal with COVID-19 spikes in their areas, and doctors have said that the comments from the British Medical Association has followed criticism about the length of time it took to get testing data to officials up in Leicester. The city is the first to experience a local lockdown after a rise in coronavirus crisis. The government has insisted that it had been working closely with local partners. However, the BMA, which is the union representing doctors in the UK, said that ministers are needed to be more open and transparent with COVID-19 data and about how regional spikes in infections will be managed in the future. Now, the BMA has said that its members have expressed concerns about the prospect of a second wave of this virus, and heightened by local face-ups. Now, the BMA Council Chair Dr. Tony Nibley said that providing local leaders with up-to-date information was virtual in containing outbreaks, particularly as a contact tracing map is not yet in place. The Prime Minister has talked about a whack-a-mole strategy to tackle local outbreaks, but this is no use if the people are leading the response on the ground. The public health teams or local leaders are not given the most accurate, up-to-date possible. He said that Leicester's 7-day infection rate was 135 cases per 100,000 people, 3 times of the next highest city, but it took 11 days for the decision to extend the lockdown to be made. The city's mayor, Sir Peter Salisbury, has said that across the rest of England, the lockdown is set to ease further on Saturday, with the reopening, of course, of bars, restaurants, hair salons, because I know because my sister's going back on Saturday, she's a hairdresser. But the BMA has said that it wanted the government to set metric trigger points for when action will be taken to reduce local and national restrictions. The BMA said that this metric should consider not only the regional reproductive number of rates and the number of people are not one infected a person on average will pass the virus on to another person, but also the proportion of the population currently affected. It also called on the government to share timely, comprehensive and reliable information to those managing new cases at a local level. And it also gives clear, consistent guidance to the public that strict social distancing and this is, of course, infection control measures must continue to be adhered to. The guaranteed supplies of personal protective equipment, which is PPE, to areas impacted by local spikes. And the government spokeswoman, I think we have spoken about this before, but if we haven't, I will say it now. And of course, a government spokesman person said it had been working closely with local partners, providing the resources it was needed to take swift action to deal with any new local spikes in infection. It remains one of the most baffling aspects of the current approach, and local authorities have not roughly been given information about their residents who test positive. Now, even though they are, I read it off my script really fast. That's why I speak really fast. But they have been asked to chase up the so-called complex cases where people test positive in care homes, prisons, or schools. So they get that information quickly, of course. But they have not been given real-time information about individual residents who test positive. Now, local directors of public health say that it is hampered their ability is to look for patterns and clusters developing. In theory, and the national system should do this, but not why they have a second pair of eyes, and especially one that knows the local situation much better. Now, this is a beginning to chance data sharing and arrangements, and have just been signed with local authorities of Public Health England, and has now set up a system that should do this in a comprehensive and speedy manner from now on. But the fact is that not already, and the experience of those on the ground in Leicester, where cases, I believe, were going up the number of weeks, and suggested that local outbreaks are developing in the community may not have been spotted as quickly as they should. Now, business security Alok Sharma told BBC Breakfast, "You can always improve on these things," when asked if the Leicester response had been too slow, but had local authorities and had access to digital dashboards with local data. Now, Labour MP Yeti Cooper tweeted it was incomprehensible that health authorities in Wakefield, West Yorkshire, had been trying to get hold of the local data on swab tests, a result of the wider population, but had not been able to. Now, positive tests for every 100,000 population tested in hospitals and wider communities week is ending on the 21st of June, and it has ended on the 21st of June. Apparently, London is in detail, and under the local lockdown announced on Monday evening this week, would you believe, non-essential shops in Leicester have been forced to shut their doors, and schools, of course, have to close as well, even though they've only just opened, except, of course, for vulnerable pupils and children of critical workers. People are also being advised not to travel in or out of the city. It's basically the city's in lockdown and you can't go out of the city at all. The measures will last until at least 18th of this month, which is otherwise known as the 18th of July, and apply to the city centre and a number of suburbs. Now, Sir Peter has criticised the government and PHE for being too slow to share testing data with the city's officials. He had officials in the city and had tried to get figures from the government for weeks. Health Secretary Matt Hancock and Leicester had 10% of the positive cases in the country over the past week. Bradford, Barnsley and Rochdale, which is all up north, have all seen 45 or more cases per 100,000 people in the last week. In other words, 1,000, I think that is. The government has since May said that it would use local lockdowns to counter flare-ups. Now, Imperial College London's Professor Neil Ferguson, who used to advise the government before recognising over this lockdown trip, told BBC Radio 4's Today programme that it was inevitable and there would be further local outbreaks, and said that the high rates of the virus on Bradford and Doncaster were clearly of concern. Now, these are areas and were not as high as Leicester, but they have some of the highest numbers of cases per 100,000 of the population, which of the revealed measure, so they clearly of concern. He also said that the Department of Health said that as of the 5 o'clock on Monday this week, 43,730 people, would you believe, had died with coronavirus in the UK. And of course, it was an increase of 155 on this previous day. Blimey! I mean, that is a lot, really, if you think about it. Now, and there's a big picture that I'm looking at now, and it's very it's a big area, Leicester, big area, and of course it's also the county of Leicester as well. It's not just Leicester itself; it's also the county that they've got to try and protect as well. So let's talk about snacking and family meals, which has increased in this lockdown. Now, changes in young people's eating habits as tracked during the lockdown in England, and they've shown that both increases in snacking and families are eating together. Now, researchers have found 60% of young people thought that more shared family meal times were positive for health and well-being. Now, young people in the study have said that they wanted to keep having meals together. The research on the Guy's and St Thomas's charity at the Bite Back 2030 Healthy Eating Charity has studied over 1,000 14 to 19-year-olds. Now, the youth co-chair of Bit Back 2030 is Christina Anthony, the 16-year-old Londoner who set up the petition for free school meals over the summer holidays with footballer Marcus Rashford, and who also as well supported her campaign as well. I don't want us to be the victims of endless fast food advertisement and celebrities coaching staff that everyone knows it is bad for us, said Mrs. Adine. And she said, I want to be part of the world where our health is priority of the food industry. The study of lockdown eating has found contrasting trends for more unhealthy snacks, such as grazing on crisps and chocolate, but also more has shared meals as families spend more time at home together. Now, it also has found a widening social divide in healthy and unhealthy eating. Now, the report has described snacking as the biggest negative consequence in eating habitats during this pandemic, with 40% increase in snacks. Now, The young people in poorer families were more likely to snack and less likely to eat fresh fruit and vegetables than their wealthier contraplats. Some days I don't eat a lot at all, she said, as I'm not hungry, but others I snack more on things like chocolate. She said, which I've been doing at the moment. I've been eating loads of chocolate at the moment as well. Chocolate, fruit and veg. Cakes at the moment. I mean, of course, that's all I've been eating at the moment. But